at it with Carfitable Talks.
Yes, we are back at it a little bit. So we've got Claire Mack again.
That's my mom.
That's her mother, and we are ready. She's ready. She's started ready on yesterday, and we want to complete on today.
Yeah, thank you for those of you who are just popping on with us. Hey, Stacy.
Yes. So we're really excited about this because we were had a good roll on yesterday.
Yeah, I found out some really crazy stuff.
Right.
Like I was switched in the hospital and I was given to a white family.
Yeah.
I slept thinking about that. I didn't know that until yesterday when I was talking to my mother. So that was pretty crazy. And we found out some really good and crazy stuff too. What else did we find out? Oh, that they had segregated hospitals for
No, you weren't switched in the hospital.
I was. Oh, how did I get it then?
They offered you.
They offered.
You want this black girl? They said no.
The man picked up the wrong card. Back in those days, you could pick up a card so they would bring you the baby. It could be any baby. And he picked up a card that said M-A-C-K, and his last name was M-A-U-C-K.
Oh, M-A-U-C-K. Mark. How you say Mark? Mark? Yeah, I guess.
I'm a fan of Dorinda.
Hey,
Dorinda Carcole is there. Hey, girl.
Well, she's got her fans. You know, she's got such faithful and loyal fans.
She's got a big fan.
I mean, they are huge. So
I've watched her show a couple of times myself. I got it.
Yeah, Dorinda is a really wonderful person. But we were talking about your life last time, and it looks like things are a little more stable today. And so we wanted to go on and talk about a few other things. We were talking about your political activism and what you were doing with your political activism.
And how you got, well, the reason why you guys started, because you're very into, maintaining the neighborhood, if you want to say balance in terms of density and stuff like that. That was one of the motivations for you to get involved. And I guess you started from the grassroots. So tell us a little bit about that. Yeah.
But I've always been involved. When I was a child, I told you my dad belonged to the Communist Party, and he used to have a. My father was a communist. He was a card-carrying communist.
Now you guys don't start calling me a communist because I'm not a communist.
You gotta tell the history.
But for black people, I could see them being all kinds of things.
My dad was William Solomon Cullen was a card-carrying communist because he thought the Russians were going to do better for us than the United States was doing. And then one day he found out differently, and he became an agent for the FBI, and he did that so he could get money to go to have some, what did he say? He could have some money to go to Reno to play Keno.
Reno to play Keno. So he went from a card-carrying communist to an FBI undercover agent. Are you
serious?
So he was he infiltrating the Communist Party?
Why didn't I know this before?
Is that what he was doing?
You did, because when you first went to college, or maybe you were in high school, there was a communist newspaper called Workers' World, or I forget what it, but Daddy wanted to order a newspaper for you, and we told him he couldn't do that. He was so hurt because he wanted to make sure that you got good information so you could be
from the Communist Party. Oh,
yes, geez. I wish I could remember the name of the
serious?
paper. But we told him, Daddy, don't do that. Please don't do that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. That's a lot. I'm not a communist. Never have been a communist.
But let me tell you, so was who's the beautiful singer? Paul Robeson was also a communist.
Paul Robeson, I know, was, and they broke him down and wouldn't
they really, the FBI, what they did to Paul Robeson was horrible. But this is what this country, as much as we love our country, this country has been a tough pill to swallow for Black people. Since 1619? That Hannah Jones has said when the United States started, it started when Black people first arrived here. It wasn't 1776. It's when they got free labor. And the only reason this country is great, or ever was great, is because it had 400 years of free labor. So get it straight, folks.
Yeah, well.
Okay, well, you got it straight.
Well, all right. So then you've been protesting now, and so now they call you Sugar and Spice and Civil Rights.
That was
So
a cute name for an article. That was done by a lovely young man who spent a whole day with me in the kitchen. Yeah.
Well, it's a
wow.
beautiful article.
Yeah, so you've been on NBC here locally, the local NBC station, and
Do you know? I got a call from a magazine in London. Somebody in London did an article. We had a
wow.
somebody
So
in Santa Rosa did an article. So Claire's crunch cake, based on the original Blum's crunch cake, has really taken on legs of its own.
Which was a place that we were not. So I'm trying to remember this from when I was a child. We were not allowed to sit down and eat at Blum's where you're making that cake. And then were we allowed to sit down at the counter at Woolworths?
In San Mateo, Woolworths didn't have an eating counter. But no, we did not eat at Blum's in San Mateo. That was not something we did.
I thought Woolworths had a counter.
Not in San Mateo.
Okay. I guess some of this in my brain is just all over the place. But what I noticed, Claude and I were talking about, first of all, we thought we were rich growing up. You were also a design. We would call you a designer now, but back then it was a seamstress. And I remember you and Aunt Dottie Rainwright could copy any outfit, so we had any designer's clothes.
Absolutely.
I thought I was rich. And what I realize now is that you and Daddy protected us from a lot of stuff. Tell me about that, because I'm just now realizing that you talked to us and made us aware, but a lot of the pain and stuff out there, I think we were protected from it.
You weren't protected. We talked about it, but it didn't affect you. The stuff that went on in San Mateo was different. For instance, when your father came home from Korea, he got a job at the post office. Should have gone back to college. He should not have taken a job at the post office, but he did. We went to buy a home and could not get a loan. Now, this man had just been in Korea fighting, and that's what I don't understand about Republicans. They love to stand up and salute the flag with us and sing the national anthem at the Olympics. They love to pat us on the back as we walk through the airport, as our daughter and your sister walk through the airport and say, "Thank you for your service."
Historically, you had that GI Bill, but specifically there were provisions that would not allow you to use the GI Bill to buy homes in only certain areas. You couldn't use it to buy homes anyway. They wouldn't allow it. And it wasn't until Lyndon B. Johnson, they made some changes that allow blacks to use the GI Bill.
Well, this was when we finally got our home. It was before the GI Bill. Now we were looking for our house, and we couldn't move in until my birthday. I had to be 18. I got married at 16. We were trying to buy this house, and that had nothing to do with race. By then, getting the loan was the racial part of it. But we didn't protect you guys from anything.
I felt like it because I knew racism was out there.
You guys weren't paying attention. I didn't pay attention. I didn't pay attention to the things Nana was doing when I was a kid. I didn't pay attention until I was 16 years old, and she said, "Do not call that woman other than Mrs. or Madam Pleasant." I wasn't paying attention.
Well, we were talking. We were talking yesterday also, and I heard there's a guy I like named Shuler King. He's a comedian.
Shuler King is funny.
Well, he was talking about yesterday about what's his name, Lil Wayne, and he said Lil Wayne is now, I guess, is he endorsing Trump? I can't tell, but he says, "Why are you guys concerned about what a guy is endorsing that drinks cough syrup?"
And tattoos his face and looks like an idiot, and his music is unintelligible.
Mom, some people, the kids like it, they can understand it, but
it's not good music. In 20 years, you will not be singing it like they sing something of Count Basie. I will go to Alexa right now and ask her to play "April in Paris" from Blazing Saddles. Now that's music.
Well, yeah, there's some good music out now, I think.
Lil Wayne's music, if you call it that, it's not good music, and I'm sorry.
Well, and you don't like
politics
rap.
Is worse.
But the point there was that you know, you have blacks endorsing Trump, and you probably want to add, but you know, they really don't understand the whole perspective of what's happening and how blacks are being impacted by this administration. And so, from a very narrow perspective, you know, they say, "Oh, I support Trump," but you know, if they go along with this program, what they have may potentially be taken away from them. And all the people who fought for them to have what they have today, they basically are turning their nose up on them, and that's sad.
I wish my father was alive and he would go talk to dad about it, because daddy would talk your ear off, literally. He'd be sorry that he ever did. Anyway, Lil Wayne, and I hear that
Ice Cube,
50 Cent drew back. Ice Cube wasn't supporting Donald Trump.
I don't think he was.
Yeah, I don't think.
Ice Cube wants to be a winner, and you cannot in this race be a winner by yourself. You must go to some authorities and take some people with you.
No, I agree.
In my 84 years, and I don't think in your father's 92, and I can't speak for him, but I don't think he would ever go to the White House and sit down to talk with a snake.
Mm-hmm.
He wouldn't do that. You have to
well,
use
they've been
wisdom.
in the music business, so they know. That's what I was telling Claude, is that it's not that odd for them to talk to a Donald Trump who happens to be president. He's not very different than many of these major executives at some of these major record companies. It's the same guy. It's the same guy. So for him to be impressed and want to talk to them, it's not as foreign a concept as we think. I will agree with you. Yet Diddy and Cube need to take their egos and pull them out of their behinds and stand up and listen to some people who know what they're talking about. And
exactly.
I'm going to say this again about Cube. For him to walk around Maxine Waters and not go talk to her, and I don't know that he didn't talk to her.
Well, he might have. I don't know.
I doubt it. Take your ego out of it and do what's best for all of us, not just yourself. It makes you look awfully good if you save the people, but you're not going to do it by yourself.
Like that, though. I really
don't. Based on our conversation with Karen, you know,
we talked to Karen Waters.
I would think that he didn't go to Maxine.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
based on our conversation,
we talked to Karen Waters, Maxine Waters' daughter.
Based on that,
I'm trying to give him a little background so that they know the.
Yeah, he may have done that.
I don't think he did. Let me just say that.
Okay. Listen, this is not a fight you do by yourself. Politics is a different world. Even though there is politics in the record business and the music business, the politics of this United States, the politics of your local city is different.
It's a whole different game.
Listen, I have put on a couple of good music concerts in my life. Jazz on the Hill at the College of San Mateo was not spaghetti. You know, that was some big time stuff. So
yeah, but you had people, gospel artists too, like Vicki Winans and some of our other artists.
Bobby Jones. Lord build a fence all around me every day.
Jesus build a fence. That was one of the Hawkins
Hammond.
I can't remember.
But go ahead. But
you know what? I want to name somebody in the music business, in the world of show business, who has done a very, very good job, and that's Flame Monroe. He gets on his podcast.
Flame Monroe.
Flame Monroe has become not become, I don't know what he was before, but he is an activist. He bought some blue glasses and he said, vote blue, no matter who, vote blue. And this man Flame Monroe is he, she, we. He's genderless. And
my mother loves Flame Monroe.
Flame Monroe is coming to San Mateo. As soon as the pandemic is over, he's going to come and entertain. I told him we have a geriatric society here. So he tells people he's coming to an old folks home in San Mateo to entertain. And I can't wait for it to be over so he can
I don't know how many of you know Flame Monroe. Flame Monroe is
he's from Tiffany Haddish's We Ready.
She from that comedy show.
They Ready.
He's
the trans individual from They Ready, and he has become a kind of a friend. So
I told you my mom was one of a kind, so you got to get ready.
Politically, you know, we got this big election coming up on Tuesday. Yeah, and I know you're very active politically here in this, not only San Mateo but the county and so on. So, I mean, what's your take on what's going to happen here?
I'm feeling encouraged. I don't know what's going to happen because we're playing with a trickster.
Completely.
Who is going to pull everything out of the toilet that he can possibly do. He wants the votes to stop on. He wants the votes to stop on the 3rd. He doesn't want to count any ballots that are in the messed up post office, in the post office that he messed up, that your uncle and father worked for over 60 years. Yeah. A fine institution where black men are concerned. But we've got a trickster. So even if Biden wins the electoral and the popular vote, he's got to win it by such a landslide that the trickster will be escorted, I hope with his bald head, from the White House.
Yeah, I got to tell her sometimes, so watch yourself.
I'm not going to, listen, all humanity deserves credit. Mm-hmm. Some humanity less than other humanity. Some of it is just protoplasm walking around.
Well, all right then. Mom, Jessie Hurst just joined us. You remember Jessie Hurst? Manager for Kirk Franklin. Hi, Jessie.
Way back in the day.
Hi. Well, was it Jessie that I told to leave the food alone?
Yes.
It's one of the Hursts.
Yeah, it was Jessie. It was Jessie.
Bless his heart.
Yeah. So you've gone now. You've been in politics. You were a councilwoman 3 times, mayor 3 times, and you were doing your political thing, raising your kids, and then all of a sudden, in your 80s, I think it was, or your late 70s, you start a company baking the cakes that we've been talking about. Who starts a career in their late 70s, 80s?
Grandma Moses.
Oh, well, I guess Grandma Moses did paint pictures, huh?
It's in the blood.
Yes, she did. And
Grandma Moses did.
But people have missed this cake. The stories we hear on a daily basis. There's a young woman working with me, or she volunteers with me. Her name is Angela Miller. She used to own a very good soul food restaurant here in San Mateo called Ma Pinky's. She hears more stories than I do because she answers the door. But people have missed this cake. The cake is absolute. In fact,
the cake is wonderful.
Buy a cake right now.
Yep. I want you to know, Stacy says, "Hey, Annie Claire."
So when it closed, so that was it. You didn't have that cake for what? 40, 50 years?
Well, when the Blums closed.
It closed in the 60s. It closed in the 60s.
So it's almost 40 years then.
Yeah, I started making the cake again in the 80s when I was at the College of San Mateo.
Okay, okay.
The reason I started charging for it was because the ingredients are expensive and I couldn't continually make it unless I could pay for it. It was very, it was expensive at the beginning. But now we're doing okay.
People are asking, can you ship the cake? And it cannot be shipped.
I've tried to ship it. I've got to find a better way to freeze the cake because I know that Mackenzie's is a very good shipper of food. And I keep saying each day I wake up, I'm going to call them and ask them how to do it. There's got to be a way to do it. I've sent the cake to Maryland. I've sent it to Long Beach. And people say, well, in fact, Flame Monroe got one for his birthday, and he said, "Oh, it's a bunch of crumbles, but we're going to eat it anyway." And what it tasted like. Right. Then we have good friends in Maryland, and they said, "You know what a trifle is?"
Yes.
She said,
why don't you explain to the people what a trifle is, though?
Trifle is a bunch of cake that you dropped on the floor, and when you pick it up, you put it in a bowl, and you make it look pretty.
Oh, so it's
some whipped cream
on cake in a bowl.
It's just a mess. And it's an English version, some English chef's version of a messed up cake, and they didn't have any dessert, so they put it in a dish and put a couple of berries on the side and made it look lovely, like black as fish. Same thing. So, somebody burned the fish and said, "Oh, something new on the menu."
Right.
Burnt fish. So, so the interesting thing about it is, you're part of the cottage industry. This is
a cottage industry.
Right. So you have people come in. Now, how do you handle this during this pandemic? You have people
they
coming in.
Stay outside. I used to let people in the house, and I never should have. I should have made everybody stay outside. We have a white couch. And my white couch said to me one day, "Thank you so much for not letting these people come in and make me dirty." So they stand outside and they wait.
But why? Do you have any idea why there are so many Asian people? I mean, we love all people, but your clientele is basically Asian. Why is that, do you think?
I think one, because it's a very good product and Asians
Yes.
like good stuff.
Yes.
Number two, they are very tech savvy, and I began my business on with Yelp. And
Okay.
people would use
Thank you,
Yelp and
Maestro.
Facebook. People went to those particular places, and the Asian community are into technology. So I
Okay.
think I was more available there. Although I've always run a newspaper ad. Very few people these days run the read newspapers. So there's a clientele who read the newspapers, but I bless the Asian community. I mean, every Filipino,
Every kind of Asian.
Vietnamese, Chinese, Japanese, you name it. We have a
Stacy says
wonderful.
Facebook. You being on Facebook, maybe
Facebook,
that
yeah.
has something to
No,
do with it too.
does this cake have a particular taste? Is it representative of something from in the culture there, or is this something that?
Although the cake looks very sweet, it's not a sweet cake. And the Asians who talk to me and help me make it less sweet, say they just don't like sweet desserts. So this should be a very sweet dessert, and it's not. People are surprised when they eat it. Now, the odd thing is, I can't eat it. I can't eat it.
I can't eat it anymore either because I'm allergic to dairy.
Well,
and it's full of whipped cream.
I can.
You can if you do.
And
Well,
I do.
Between the dairy and the potential of diabetes, I just don't eat it. So, but
that's
there are
another thing.
formulas and recipes, and I do a few things that people will never replicate because I'm not telling that part of the secret. But
right,
and I come from a long line of very good cooks. My aunt Texana, my father's sister, had
lived
three
next door.
Yeah, she used to live next door. Her granddaughter lives there now. But she had 3 restaurants in the city of San Mateo. And the most famous was a place called Little Harlem, and it was known for its chili. But that woman could cook. She did a television.
So we come from a long line of entrepreneurs
And people who knew what to do in the kitchen. My father made wonderful goat barbecue. And they know how to cook.
Barbecue. Warren said he's coming to California for the cake.
Who's that?
Warren.
Dear friend of ours.
Warren, Adrian Warren used to work with us at Gospel Centric, and he's in Indiana. So
let me explain what the cake is. The original cake was several people say it was a different. I remember a yellow cake, a very wonderful textured yellow cake, covered with a topping that was coffee flavored. And on top of the coffee flavored topping goes a confection called honeycomb. And then all that melts together and it is delicious. My favorite cake was the lemon crunch cake, and they rarely had the lemon crunch cake. And I imagine it was because the acid was tough on the cream. It would break the cream down. But since that time, since I started doing the cake, I've added 2 flavors, chocolate and strawberry. And the strawberry crunch cake is now vying with the mocha crunch cake, which is the original.
Oh, I love the strawberry.
We've got a question from Yoga Mack. I wonder if that's my sister. I think that is. She says, tell us about not eating grapes. As they want to know more about, I guess we were boycotting grapes. When I was a kid, you guys, we boycotted everything. There were just certain things. So
if it was politically incorrect, we didn't do it. Cesar Chavez was boycotting grapes, and Cesar Chavez was trying to get better wages for the Latin workers, and they said don't eat grapes. We didn't eat them, and that hurt the farmers. So that's what we did.
So I remember just for a long time, as a kid, we just didn't eat grapes, didn't have the toilet paper. We had to have black mannequins in the stores, or we would write letters. And on a Saturday, then on Saturdays, do you remember when you had the charm school? Do you want to tell us a little bit about the charm school? That we had a charm school so that young women would know social graces and how to eat at tables, because my mother always said we might be around kings and queens, and we needed to know how to do that.
Absolutely. I've always felt that one of the things, I brought a pizza to school one day, and it was a combination, and the kids wouldn't eat it. And that's one of the things I used to say to them. You never know. You may be with the ambassador to any country in the world. You have to know how to appreciate other people's food. Cheese pizza is lovely, but it is not the best pizza. Who knows what the best pizza is? The best pizza is what you like. But open your palate, open your brain, and enjoy this world. I said, you live in a place like San Mateo where there are thousands of people from thousands of places in the world.
Very diverse community.
Enjoy your community.
But you know when it hit us in gospel, because we had owned Gospel Centric, is when our artists had to go out of the country and things were so different. And for a lot of Blacks especially, well, in all facets, but especially in entertainment and sports, people that would never think about it end up in different countries and have to learn how to eat that food. Stacy, I was saying, Stacy, our cousin, ended up in Japan singing.
Absolutely.
And I imagine she had to learn how to do that. So a lot of different, as you said, you never know what's going to take you.
Ronnie was in school and had a lot of Jewish
Ronnie's our
friends.
sister, your daughter.
Ronnie, our middle daughter, she was in New York and was invited to a Seder. And she knew all about the Seder because we had attended Seders.
And what is the Seder exactly?
Seder is a holy meal during Passover for the Jews. And, to know more about the world. And that's what always has bothered me about how people look at us. San Mateo is a diverse city. Why wouldn't we know about Seder? Why wouldn't we know what sake was or sushi? We knew those things because that's who our neighbors were.
That's right.
When I grew up, our neighbors were Portuguese and Irish and from every part of Europe you could think of. And we were one of the few families who were in the Catholic Church. But there were people in this city from all over the world. One of the things Irma and I went to, I don't know how I got the tickets.
Who's Irma?
Irma Prothero is my best friend in the world. But we had tickets to go to the anniversary of the United Nations in San Francisco. And I was outdone when I left there because all of these beautiful African men in their native garb were being escorted around San Francisco by white women. And I came home and said, I'm going to make sure that my girls learn French because most of these guys were speaking French. And I said, I want my girls to have those opportunities. Little did I know one of my daughters would marry someone from Haiti. That's kind of French,
yeah, but I got plenty of some kind of French.
It ain't that kind of French.
Creole, yes.
Opening your mind up, opening your brain up, opening yourself up to know more than what you have grown up with.
Right. I think traveling, if traveling really helps in that part, but sometimes you can't travel. So when you live in a diverse community, like here, there's a Buddhist temple down at the corner.
Yeah, it used to be the Baptist.
It was a Black Baptist church built by Black people, and now it is a Taiwanese Buddhist temple. They had over 1,000 people come to the temple when the Dalai Lama came to the United States.
And that was just 1, 2, 3, 4 doors away from your house.
It's 3 doors. We're the third house.
3 doors.
Yes.
Wow, that's crazy. Well, tell me, when you're an octogenarian and what is it called when you're in your 90s? Daddy's a nanogenarian or something? I don't know.
Nonagenarian.
Nonagenarian. How do you guys stay in shape? Why are you so healthy? I know the Lord is mighty in it, but what do you do? I remember, now I got to tell everybody this story though. My mom says, open your mind, and she means that. We took her and her 2 girlfriends to see Prince before he passed in a big old concert, and they wore purple and went with us to see Prince. So
one of my friends was 80. She's now died, Eleanor Curry. And Eleanor and I went to sleep. I had been driving. Eleanor was the oldest.
Did you go to sleep
Irma didn't close an eye. She laughed at the 2 of us, and she enjoyed Prince from the top
and stood up the whole time. The whole time.
Prince, I have to say this about Prince. This was our church on the farm at the time,
and he came to our church.
And so there was, booking issues going on between Staples Center and the facility, and they were kind of blocking us in the marketplace. And Prince said, "Hey, that ain't right." And so Prince booked, 20 separate events at the forum.
Well, they were almost
consecutive days at the forum to help the situation.
Yes,
And he made the tickets like $25 or something like that.
So you guys drove
I got a shout out to Prince for doing that, but just to kind of say what's happening.
You know what? Today we also need to give our condolences to Rance Allen and his family. What an incredible man. Of course, he did something really great with us. So something about the name Jesus that Kirk Franklin wrote. Yeah. And I remember him originally, Mom, I think you brought home his song, Ain't No Need in Worrying About Your Problems. Do you remember that song?
I don't.
Oh, gosh. Well, he had crossed over, and I didn't even know he was gospel. I think this was in the 60s or early 70s. Ain't No Need in Crying, I think it was called. And what an incredible man. He became a bishop for Church of God in Christ, and we do want to send our condolences out to him today.
I'm going to kind of switch a little bit to go back to, you're an author. You've not only written a screenplay once, I believe, but you've also written several books. And so just tell us about, your books, your writing, and hopefully later she'll read a little bit out from that for us. So
I once served on a grand jury. No, the first book. The first book is called Imitation of Life, The Next Millennium. And I did not like the original movie, Imitation of Life, because it's one of the most racist movies ever done.
Well, that was the one before Mahalia Jackson. That was the one that, there's your book. But
that's your book, yeah.
The one that was, the first one was Claudette Colburn and somebody
Colbert.
That you don't like.
Both of them are racist. Both of them are racist. What the premise is, they're both, the lady who wrote the book, Fannie Hurst, was supposedly a good friend of Zora Neale Hurston. But her premise that a Black woman should have an invention or discover a good way to make, she didn't take it. She sold it and told the Black woman, I'm going to give you 40% and I'm taking 60%. No, not with my invention, you're not.
But that second one wasn't like that. The one with
it was a little cleaned up, but it was still a rotten movie.
All I know is I loved it when Mahalia Jackson said, "Soon it will be done, trouble." Oh gosh, I love that.
One of the most racist movies in the world is Dumbo, and I still love I Can See an Elephant Fly. So we do things in our lives. So I'm sorry.
I love that. Yeah, I love that song
too.
I can see a horse fly, I can see a house fly, I can see a polka dot railroad tie, but I will have seen everything when I see an elephant fly. So we have our things in our lives that we make room for.
Yeah,
right. So the second set of books, what was that about?
The books, I base my books on two characters that came from the first book. They are church ladies named Sister Sams and Sister Johnson. I had served on a grand jury and we had a horrible pedophile case and I could not do anything. I swore when I left that case that I was going to do something about pedophilia. Well, what I've done is I've written about it. And I've written about some strong Black female characters who take the law into their own hands, but they rid the world of pedophiles. Now, they do it in a very interesting way.
They rid the world.
Very interesting way. And I wish they were real characters. I would love to see someone do a movie, although I'm afraid of a movie or a television program. Well, no, I'm not afraid for what they do, because what they do is what needs to be done. But what I'm afraid of is that somebody would make them into characters that you would laugh at rather than laugh with. And having met Flame Monroe, I would love to see him as one of my characters, because these are religious ladies. And what they do is they threw some of their dirt in the church. And their dirt, at least in the church, is clean dirt, because some dirt can be done in the church. But these two ladies use the church van and all that kind of stuff to help get rid of
they use the church van, everything.
They use it. That's all right.
Well, before we close, I'd love to hear one of your poems or something that you would like to read from one of your books. What are you gonna?
I'm gonna recite the very first poem I wrote. I went to a conference that was being put on by the late great San Francisco supervisor, Dr. Doris Ward. We were at a conference.
Yes.
We were at a conference in San Francisco, and at least half of the room was young Black women, and half of that group of women, more than half, had chewing gum in their mouths. And this was my first poem. Oh, little Black girl, aren't you aware? My poor ears won't you spare? All that noise from your tooth makes you sound so uncouth. Snapping, popping, cracking. Spearmint Doublemint ain't what's happening. The way you chew, it sure ain't cute. Can't you put down that juicy fruit? In a huge theater, I know you're there. Cracking, popping, sizzling the air. It's hard to hear the speaker talking because when you chew that gum, it sounds like walking. Oh, little Black girl, I hope and pray that you'll chew that gum in a less cow-like way.
All right. Well, gosh, we have enjoyed you. We're going to have to do this again. We're certainly going to have to talk after the election and see what you think about that on Tuesday. People, please vote.
Yeah,
Vote.
vote.
Please.
Yes, because after I just am feeling good in my spirit because young people across this nation are standing up. And I heard somebody say on the television this morning that this country is not going to stay the way it is. There are many people here who don't look like George Washington, which means this country is going to change. It's going to change.
And it's going to have to change. It's going
Because
to be difficult, but it's going to have to happen.
Oh, it's been difficult all along the way. But go and find out who Nicole Hannah Smith is. She's the woman who started the 1619 project. And is it 1619 or 1614? I'm losing the date right now. But this nation is going to change. We're going to be the people we say we are.
Wow.
And you know, all along the way, it has been what we say we are. The Olympics, baseball, football, the politics in this country, the Black Caucus, the way during the Reconstruction, what happened in the Congress back then. Do you know that the reason we have school funding is now is because of the Black men in the Congress right after the Civil War. That's why this country has the education it has. And then we have this lady, Miss DeVos, who doesn't know her behind from a hole in the ground and is trying to change it, who doesn't know anything about public schools. This country can be great, and it's going to be great because of the people who arrived here in 1619. That's what's going to happen.
All right.
Okay, and on that note, we are going to say thank you so much, Mother. And we will talk to you soon. Thank you, everybody. Yes. You know that we have Vicki Mack's Wax Tracks, a playlist. We just uploaded some new songs for the crossover, and we have something called The Movement as well. So please go online and check that out. On Spotify. Thank you. And next week, who are we going to have on the show? It's going to be PJ Morton, I think.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, PJ Morton will be on next week.
Who plays good music? He plays good music.
PJ really does. He does. My mother concurs. He plays good music. So thank you, everybody.
Take care.
Good
God
music.
bless.